Alright, kings, gentlemen, everyone else, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Scruffy Olympics. And today we're going to have to talk about destroying the Russian Federation once again. We've already done a video on that on this channel. It attracted all sorts of, foul scum in the comments. They have been purged. But now we're going to have to talk about it again in a new context, because I made that video before the Americans decided to nosedive their country, and I understand that not all Americans are in on this, and our enemy is America, not MAGA. There's another video on this channel on this topic, but I'm going to be using that as shorthand. I don't want to explain myself every time I use the word America on this channel. Anyways. So, why should Europe help destroy the Russian Federation? Let's begin. Unfurls comically large list. First of all, right, we should be supporting Ukraine. We should be arming Ukraine as a continent, as a collective civilization. Not only because it's the right and moral thing to do, and not only because we want to preserve Ukraine, because we want to preserve Ukraine. That's an objectively good thing to do, to preserve a European ethnicity, a European state. But also because the Ukrainians have graciously accepted to be our collective battering ram against the Russian Federation. And the Russian Federation as a state needs to go. There's multiple reasons why we should be destroying this state. First of all, aesthetic reasons. Second of all, hygienic reasons. But more importantly, to the discussion at hand, security, resources, and access to the Arctic. So, first of all, security. This is a complete and absolute fucking no-brainer. The Russian Federation is, as discussed previously, the last successor state, the last living successor state of Genghis Khan's empire, of the Mongol horde, and of course they have the behavior to match. They're a loot, pillage, rape, and burn type of civilization. Well, country, not civilization. Hardly civilized. And they are doing exactly that in Ukraine, and they're going to be doing exactly that if they're not contained or somehow destroyed. And I prefer destroyed to contained. Contained is like every disaster movie you have out there is just some virus breaching containment. Why didn't we just destroy it when we had the chance? It doesn't matter really. And the second reason is, of course, the territory of the Russian Federation holds just a vast treasure trove of resources, which Europe is now going to need because our American friends, our allies over on the North American continent, our former friends in the United States, have decided to destroy themselves, and the part of the self-destruction process is alienating your friends. We all have that friend who fell in with drugs or alcohol or a dangerous cult, and part of their self-immolation, self-destruction process is to alienate everyone who ever cared about them. And the Americans are in that stage of addiction slash cult membership. And the third reason is because the future of the world, right? The future of world power. I believe the geographical pivot of world power is shifting to the Arctic. This is for several reasons. First of all, our planet is getting warmer. We can debate whether it's due to human action or due to natural cycles of the planet. I believe the evidence could go either way. And the second reason is because of advancing icebreaker technology means that the ice of the Arctic Ocean is no longer an impassable barrier. Now, you're going to require more intensive capital investment, more skilled sailors in order to navigate these new routes which are going to open in the Arctic Ocean, but these routes will nevertheless be open, and mastery of these routes is going to be key. And because we have not discussed these Arctic routes on the channel before, I want to make them the main focus of this video, because I believe that everyone already understands the security and the resource acquisition aspects of why we need to destroy Russia. Now, you may have noticed, I like you to visualize, or at least open, sun in my eyes. You need to visualize or open a map of the Arctic Ocean to keep up with this. The Arctic Ocean is fundamentally a Mediterranean Sea of sorts. You can only go in or out in two locations. The first location is the Bering Strait between Kamchatka and Alaska. No, those are ladies' glasses. I'm not wearing those. Yeah, Mrs. Gilvey thinks she's helping. Anyways, so the first entry point is the Bering Strait between Alaska and Kamchatka. And yeah, people have been making fun of my pronunciation of Alaska. It is the way we say it in Macedonian. Between Asia and North America. And the second entry point is what is known as the GIUK gap, GIUK gap. Well, it is the gap between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, which separates the North American landmass from the European landmass. And traditionally, Greenland is considered part of the North American landmass, or although it's an island, and Iceland is considered part of Europe. It's on the European continental shelf, so logically this. So the only ways, and of course the space between Iceland and the United Kingdom is dotted with these small islands which are under control of European powers. So you got the Faroe Islands under Denmark, you got Orkney and Shetland under the United Kingdom, and you have Svalbard up in the high north, which is actually smack dab in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. We might as well call it the Arctic Sicily, because it's the beating heart, well, the frozen heart of the Arctic, and that's under the control of Norway. And traditionally, this was very important in the Cold War, because the main Russian nuclear submarine base was in Murmansk. That is on the White Sea coast. That is just off of the Kola Peninsula, historically Finnish land, and this is in the Arctic Ocean. And so if the Russians wanted to get their nuclear submarines into the world ocean, out from the Arctic Ocean, they had to go through either the Bering Strait, which is monitored by the Americans, or the GIUK Gap, which is monitored by the Norwegians, Danes, British, and Americans, because Iceland does not have a military of its own. And of course there was a series of seismic measurers, sonar stations to monitor this traffic. Now, so this means that, and of course we are, I don't know if any of you guys follow Peter Zeihan, but I think he's right about the world experiencing a period of deglobalization, precisely because the Americans are no longer up to the task of patrolling the world's oceans. I don't know if you can see these guys. I love them. They're very cute. The Americans are no longer up to the task of patrolling the world's oceans and ensuring passage of goods and freight. So Europe is going to have to look to alternative means of trading with the world. And primarily here I'm talking about trade with East Asia, with our natural allies in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and the Philippines. And if somehow they can be slapped into some measure of civilization, the Chinese, although I do not have high hopes for the Chinese. I think they've just been I think they're just civilizationally and doctrinally opposed to European civilization, and just cannot be reasoned with fundamentally. But in any case, we should be trading with the Japanese and the South Koreans, definitely the South Koreans, because they have a massive weapons industry, and we need to be looking into ways to substitute American made weapons. And of course, ideally we would be making our own. But in the meantime, you know, the Polish have been buying a shitload of Korean weaponry, and that freight has to go somewhere, has to pass through somewhere. So why not pass through the Arctic route? Why not avoid the pitfalls of piracy and rogue states closing their territorial waters by just controlling the Arctic? I have suggested in the past that Europe ally itself with Canada, that Canada, align itself with Europe. So just by having Canada and Greenland on side, we would already, as a bloc, control a significant chunk of the Arctic. You know, the Arctic states are as follows: Norway, Denmark, Canada, Russia, and the United States of America. And of course you have the UK as honorary, because you can actually draw a straight line from the North Pole to UK territory, and you're not going to hit land anywhere. It's just water, and these guys rule the waves, or so they tell me. Now, the main problem there will be Russia. The American footprint in the Arctic it's just Alaska and the bases they have on Greenland, and that's going to get renegotiated if they keep behaving the way they have been behaving. And so dismantling the Russian Federation, which would be fairly simple to do if we would but just arm Ukraine with the weapons we need, would also open up this Arctic route. Europe should not only seize the Russian Federation's territory up to the Ural Mountains at least, but also the entire Arctic coast, and thereby force open the Arctic trade routes and secure our connection to the Far East, secure our access to Far Eastern goods, and also give us an ability to project power into the Asia-Pacific theater without going the long way around Africa or even through Suez, because the shortest route between Europe and East Asia is through the Arctic Circle. That's just geometry. You got to think about spherical geometry. The world is not flat; it's a sphere, and this has serious geopolitical implications. Yeah, I just slammed my baseball bat into that beehive, didn't I? Anyways, stay strong, folks. Think about the Arctic. So I guess that means stay frosty. Bye-bye, and cheers.